Hello viewers and welcome to a brand new episode of Anzenmezzeron Hell Games, where I will showcase actual plays of Magna Gothica Maleghast. In this episode, Gargamox vs Igorri, with me as Gargamox and Ruin have found you at last as Igorri. You probably already know how Gargamox works, but as a refresher, Gargamox is a house that's all about area deniability, and my build here with the slimes and rottens are here to take advantage of that. Slimes to explode everything around them intentionally or on death, and rottens to make enemies less likely to stick together with their infectious act ability. And yes, this is actually the same build I used in the previous episode, because today's match was actually done on the same exact day, so you can probably figure out how it really works by watching the previous episode. On the other side, here's Ruin's Igorri build, with 4 stitches, 2 Lycans, 1 Strigoi, and the Chirurgeon. Igorri is a house that's about rapidly adapting to the situations, thanks to how the house exclusive tokens, mutation tokens, work. Say you have 1 strength and 1 mutation, upon hitting someone, the mutation token can be discarded in place of the strength token, effectively working as a stand-in. Meaning, if you have a unit with strength, speed, vitality, and a bunch of mutation tokens, that unit will be fucking busted. However, this also means that on its own, mutation tokens are useless, so playing Igorri can be rather difficult for beginners. There's a lot of ways to gain mutation tokens, but if you want a bunch of it easily and quickly, the fastest way is to consume corpses. Another Igorri exclusive mechanics, the Strigoi vomits corpses, the Stitch can become 2 corpses on death, and the Lycan can eat them for so much power. That's the main strategy of this build here, so let's see how it works in action. Because the match was done on the same day as the previous one, we will be using the same map. I just forgot to use another one for this. Lots of tight corners, a few hazards, not a problem to maneuver when both sides didn't use tyrants. Once again, this match will be run via macros maintained by Prudentia, and it's just the usual dueling match. I should look into the special scenarios more often one day. Anyway, let's roll for initiative. Ruin got the upper hand and arranged their units first before I do, then immediately he started the match with the Strigoi just regurgitating, which creates corpses for every unit in the area up to 3 times, then mutate, and mutate some more thanks to rapid adaptation upgrade. This is a very effective way of generating enough corpse to make the Igorri team to snowball, and in fact it's probably the most common way for an Igorri team to start their match, and one good way to prevent this is by preventing the Igorri from being able to stick together, or punishing them for sticking together. And guess what Gargamox is very good at? I have my rotten postulates to put up a hazard in a choke point then move up, though I should have done that in reverse because getting plagued up for rotten means getting strength tokens. The stitches then moved up, one underwent unstable mutation, gaining just 1 strength, and the other tried to whack the rotten but it did no damage because of its physical armor, and also took 1 damage from the hazard. The other rotten then moved and swung its rod blade at the damaged stitch, causing it to explode into 2 more corpses due to its trait, also a good way to generate corpses, and the infect damage jumped to the 2 Lycans and the left stitch above it. 1 Lycan charged forward and slashed at the rotten, but dealt no damage to either of the rotten due to the physical armor again. One weakness of Igorri is that besides the Necromancer, there's 0 source of magic damage anywhere, so fighting against units with physical armor or super armor is just pain. However, the splash damage still affected the walls around it, reducing both to 1 health. Then, with the 1 soul from the dead stitch, the Chirurgeon spent it for wild mutation. It's actually not possible to spend it right now because it needed to be done at the start of the turn, but whatever. This soul ability basically gives out tokens depending on how you roll, 1 strength in this case, but it could also get stronger if the Chirurgeon actually got close to some corpses and consumed them for more tokens. Then Plague Lord got closer and tried to use Necrocide and really redefine the dictionary meaning of trying. The Chirurgeon actually spent his turn and got closer, lined up, and fired his experimental surgery, damaging a slime while causing the Lycan in the way to mutate. The rotten is once again unharmed because of physical armor. The damaged slime then surged through the rotten, Lycan, and Chirurgeon, damaging all of them even though it's not possible because this doesn't affect ally, and gained 3 plague tokens thanks to rotten surge, which again, not possible because this doesn't affect ally. You fucking idiot. Except I also found out that Chirurgeon has magic armor and was therefore undamaged. Part of my goal for putting the slime in the center of the Igorri's group, is because at this point, I already figured out that Igorri sticking together is bad news, therefore I put a living bomb in the center of their group to make them run away from each other. Instead I got the direct opposite result as the other stitches moved up and whacked the slime, reducing it to 1 health. I was kinda baffled by this, so I have my other slime just percolated on its own to gain more plague tokens. Then the other Lycan moved in and slashed at the slime. This immediately wiped out 30% of the Igorri's black mass as well as bringing the Strigoi to the death door. It was the most destructive carnage I have ever seen happening in round 1. I had to ask Ruin why he thought this was a good idea, and he just told me that he forgot that slime can do that. So anyway, I advise you guys to read the book more carefully. The leech then used suppurate on the Plague Lord to give him a death burst, mostly because I had no idea what else to do with it. Round 1 ended, and round 2 began with both sides gaining 1 soul, with the Igorri having a bunch more from all the death. Since I ended turn last on previous round, the Igorri got to move first and the Strigoi used Sin Eater on something. Ruin never actually specify which of the Gargamox it attacked, but it missed and did nothing, so I assume it was the Rotten again, Rotten Strong. Before my Rotten gets to move, it got hit by Devolved, a 4 soul ability that throw 1 slow, 1 weak, and 2 vulnerable tokens thanks to a lucky roll onto it. This causes its Rotblade to do no damage to the Lycan, Chirurgeon, not that it matters due to mag armor, but still killed the Strigoi. The Chirurgeon's turn started and quickly, he converted one of his mutation token to vitality to counter the hazard he was standing on, then moved down and used experimental surgery again, shooting right through the wall with pure surgical power, bringing it down, and mutating both of the remaining stitches. The remaining slime then moved left, and surged through the Plague Lord and Chirurgeon. This damaged the Plague Lord even though it shouldn't, and while this can't damage the Chirurgeon either due to magic armor, the slime passed 2 plague tokens to the Chirurgeon as that can actually deal damage, if slowly. This was also the point where I realized that even though this match's result can be clearly seen already, due to the fact that Chirurgeon has mag armor and there isn't a lot of ways for Gargamox to gain strength, the only thing that can damage the Chirurgeon reliably is the Plague Lord with Virulence, because my everything else deals toxic damage, which is a magic damage, and even then that only deal 1 freaking damage. Of course, there's also the Rotten and its ability to use plague tokens as strength, but that one completely flew over my empty cranium. The remaining stitch then whacked the Rotten, which due to strength and vulnerable tokens, that hit deal 3 damage, 2 after armor, leaving the Rotten at death's bed, and with spread mutate upgrade, the hit also applied a mutation token to the Lycan. The other Rotten then swung its Rotblade and missed. Any Rotblade hit would have made this match even more one-sided already, but it seemed that I just going to keep missing. Due to the hunger upgrade, the Lycan stepped 2 backward, and then consumed the 5 corpses around it for Blood Gorger, giving it so much goddamn tokens that I can't see shit. In total, it was 2 strength, 1 vitality, 2 speed, and 4 mutation tokens, though 1 speed now after moving to here. This is essentially what you should fear when fighting Igorri, because with that amount of tokens, even a 1 health's Lycan is still an extremely dangerous and strangely durable unit, and honestly it could get a lot worse if it had consumed more corpses, which is a possibility. With all Igorri units finished moving, the Plague Lord then used Virulence on the Chirurgeon and just missed, but it doesn't even matter because only the physical damage matters. Then the Leech moved up an elevated platform and used Swell with Corruption on a Rotten, giving the nearby Plague Lord and Rotten strength tokens to whack something harder due to the death burst from Invigorating Viscera upgrade. Round 2 ended, and round 3 began with both sides gaining more soul. Once again, Igorri got to move first and the Stitch killed the Rotten due to vulnerable token, and giving the Plague Lord and Rotten more strength from death burst. The slime then just percolated, gaining 3 more plague tokens and placing 1 slow tokens on all nearby Igorri units, which is also all that's left of them. The Chirurgeon moved next, and converted 1 mutation token to strength before using experimental surgery against the Plague Lord, dealing 2 damage. The Plague Lord then used Virulence on Chirurgeon again, dealing 2 damage due to strength token and inflicting 1 more plague. At this point it just feels like both of the necromancers are fighting like goddamn old people against each other. The Lycan then went around a long way behind the Gargamox and turned my full health leech into fucking confetti in a single turn, as well as destroying the nearby wall. Honestly, that's not quite the right moves, because if the Lycan moved here and slashed the Plague Lord, the Lycan can reduce the Plague Lord to 3 health as well as damaging the other nearby Gargamox unit from the splash. Sure, the Plague Lord can use slime form, but remember, it also only activates at turn start. Honestly, people just kinda forget to activate soul abilities at turn start way too often. Me myself is a major offender too, of course. Finally, the Rotten swung its Rotblade at the final stitch, killing it, and because I thought the wall was still there, so the infect damage didn't reach the Lycan. Round 3 ended, and round 4 began with both sides gaining more soul. Once again, it's Igorri's turn again because I moved last, and the Chirurgeon used sample genome to copy all of the Lycan's tokens to the Chirurgeon. Normally, this is not possible, it meant for copying and pasting tokens to other units in range, not the Chirurgeon, but I allowed it in this match because I like to see my hubris being paid in dividends. But then it seemed like Ruin didn't use it, as the Chirurgeon then used Biotoxin Injector against the Plague Lord for only 1 damage, then later on the Igorri's soul amount got back up. I gotta be honest, this doesn't feel like a good act ability, it's very dependent on a lot of factors, and also at this stage of the game, it's not very useful. Though honestly, it's probably better to activate the Lycan again first instead of the Chirurgeon for an absolutely insane amount of damage, as I activated my Rotten next and it just whacked the Lycan to death with 2 damage due to strength token. No amount of vitality tokens can save that. With no unit left on Igorri's side, the Plague Lord used Virulence against the Chirurgeon again for 1 damage, then exploded due to Biotoxin, finally damaging the Rotten, and the Slime, now utterly and absolutely useless, just percolated on the spot. Round 4 ended, and round 5 began with both sides gaining more soul, and the Chirurgeon then moved back and used Biotoxin on the Plague Lord for 2 damage. I finally fucking remember that Rotten can use Plague tokens as strength, so the Plague Lord spent soul on Infest on Rotten to give it Plague tokens, then the Rotten tried to crack the Chirurgeon's head open with strength, but due to magic armor and vitality token, it does nothing, absolutely useless. I also then finally remembered I have goddamn Insides Out, which causes the target to be slowed and have hazards spawning beneath them, then the Plague Lord used Virulence again, reducing the Chirurgeon to 1 health. The Slime did something, who care, and then round 6 began, Chirurgeon started his turn and died due to the hazard, and thus, the game finally ended. The one thing I have learned from this match is that if the Lycan gets to eat, someone will fucking die. It could get even worse if it's the Homunculus. As Igorri, your goal in round 1 should be to get either a Lycan or Homunculus to receive all the buff first from all the corpses, as despite being a hunter, Strigoi is honestly more like a long-ranged support unit than a long-ranged attack unit. It's terrible at actually doing damage. Once your dog or son get buffed to 9 hells, keep them up and overrun your foes like a snowball. Also, primarily, the Chirurgeon serves to support its Black Mass, much like the Dark Priest and Exorcist, but if built right with enough corpses, a Chirurgeon can be pretty goddamn dangerous on their own too. So essentially, at late game, do not underestimate the Chirurgeon, especially one surrounded by corpses. Also, I feel like I should apologize to all the Gargamox slime fans out there, mostly because due to the sheer luck I had with my slimes, I might have just made people way too wary of these gelatinous fellows and made them much harder to be used, when they are already not as effective as they should be, so, well, apologies about that. Anyway, now that I have give you guys a taste of what each houses can do, I now have more freedom on running all sorts of matches in future episodes. That's all for now, and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell button. If you really want to support my channel, you could visit my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.